Mga kababayan, panahon na para ibalik ang tapang at malasakit. Sa gitna ng unos at pagsubok ng bayan, may tinig na handang tumindig at lumaban. Hindi uurong, hindi magpapahina. Para sa Pilipino siya'y laging handa. I-offer my life, my strength and my future in the service of our nation. Handog ko ang puso at paninindigan para sa bawat Pilipino. Walang iwanan.
Araw sa hapon sa inyong lahat.
Ibalik natin ang tapang at
Habang
malasakit
hinihintay natin mag-start habang hinihintay natin yung live at pag-usapan natin itong
sa bagong umaga ng pag-asa.
ang first session, opening of confirmation of charges hearing.
Bilang Pangulo, kasama ninyo sa laban para sa pagbabago. Sa bawat rehiyon,
Yan, no?
sa bawat
Huwag niyo kalimutan mag-like and share, ha?
boses ng tao ang siyang katotohanan. Serbisyong totoo, hindi
Muna na tayo
pangako
mag-live,
lang.
Tagal-tagal na
Katarungan at kayusan
Utang
ng
itong ICC.
sandigan. Hindi para sa sarili,
oras.
hindi para sa kapangyarihan, kundi para sa kinabukasan ng susunod na henerasyon.
Hoy, Kai Spencer, Maria
Ibalik
Victoria
natin ang
Godin,
tapang at malasakit para
at
sa Diyos
Yoko
sa
Sogo,
bayan.
sa lahat ng nandyan.
Sa bawat isa,
Pag-usapan muna natin ito habang hinihintay natin yung live, ha?
huwag nang matakot, panahon na ng tunay
Si
na
PRRD, para sa inyong tanong, hindi sisipot.
Ako si Sara
Hindi siya
Duterte,
aaten.
tatakbo
Hindi niya
bilang
makikita yung
Pangulo.
kanyang mga mahal sa
Para sa Pilipinas, para sa Pilipino.
kahit pa paano sana nakikita niya yung
Malasakit!
nakikita niya yung mga kaibigan niya, diba? Na hanggang sa huli hindi siya iniiwan, diba? Na hanggang sa huli hindi siya iniiwan at patuloy na nakasuporta sa kanya. Yan, pag-usapan natin muna. Kasi ang nangyari kasi ganito. Kayo. Ito kasi tinanggihan niya tumanggi siya humarap, 'di ba? Tumanggi siyang humarap. Kasi 'di ba meron tayong tinatawag na may karapatan siyang makaharap yung mga tawag nito, mga hinayupak na mga complainant, 'di ba? Winave niya 'yon, winave niya ni PRRD. Ayaw niya makita. Kasi ayaw rin siguro makita ayaw din siguro ni PRRD na kaawaan siya. Alam mo naman yung matanda na yun, 'di ba? Ayaw niyang kaawaan. Basta siguro ang iniisip siguro ni Tatay Digong matigas ayan. Pero ang totoong gustong palabasin talaga ni PRRD ayon sa kanyang sulat. Sabi niya, 'di ba, I do not recognize the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court over my person. 'Di ba? Sabi ni Tatay Digong 'yon. I am a Filipino citizen forcibly pushed into a jet and rendition to The Hague in the Netherlands in flagrant contravention of my country's constitution, sabi niya ganon, and of a national sovereignty. Yan. My kidnapping was facilitated by the office of the incumbent president of the Philippines with a plane specially chartered for this purpose. Yan ang sinabi ni Tatay Digong. Yan yung kanyang ano, 'di ba? Masakit mang isipin, yun talaga ang nangyari pero hindi talaga siya yuyuko sa ICC. Sinasabi niya talaga wala kayong jurisdiction over sa akin, 'di ba? Mm. Yun ang pinanindigan niya. Putang na bakit ako harap sa korte nyo? Mga buwisit kayo, mga punyeta kayo. Bakit ako harap? Wala nga kayong jurisdiction sa akin. Bakit nyo ko lilitisin? Bakit nyo ko lilitisin? Wala namang kayong jurisdiction sa akin. 'Di ba?
Magaling kang kupal ka.
Hindi man yan na legal strategy, pero ano yan, political positioning yan yung ginawa ni Tatay Digong. 'Di ba kasi kung sa usaping jurisdiction, may punto naman talaga si PRRD. Ang yung argumento niya, hindi niya kinikilala ang jurisdiction ng ICC. Kasi nga umatras na ang Pilipinas sa Rome Statute. 'Di ba? At sinabi ni Tatay Digong dito, nilabag umano yung soberenya ng bansa. Tama mali. Yun yung argumento ni Tatay Digong. 'Di ba? Sa legal reality naman yung ICC, kahit pa sabihin nila sinasabi nila may jurisdiction sa mga krimen na naganap habang miyembro pa ang Pilipinas ng Rome Statute from 2011 to 2019. 'Di ba? Kasi umatras yung Pilipinas noong 2019 sa ilalim ni PRRD, 'di ba? Pero malinaw daw di umano sa Rome Statute na ang withdrawal ay hindi nakakaapekto sa mga krimeng ginawa niya bago pa ang effectivity ng withdrawal. Na hanggang ngayon pinag-uusapan pa rin nila yan, yung jurisdiction na yan. 'Di ba? Kasi gusto nilang palabagsin kahit hindi na miyembro yung Pilipinas ngayon, maaaring ituloy ng ICC yung investigasyon. 'Di ba? Tungkol sa mga alegasyon na nangyari noong miyembro pa yung Pilipinas. 'Di ba? Yan ngayon. 'Di ba? Yan ang mga pinagdedebatehan ngayon. Pero si PRRD talagang pinagpipilitan niya talaga. Kumbaga sa yung message, yung hindi niya pagdalo, sa madaling salita, yung hindi pagdalo ni PRRD, messaging ngayon. Kumbaga sa mensahe niya sa atin, sa domestic audience, sa national audience, sa buong mundo. 'Di ba? Yun ang pinalalabas si Tatay Digong. Putang na, eto ang mensahe ko, ginaganito ako ng ICC kahit walang jurisdiction sa akin. Yun ang messaging niya sa buong mundo ni Tatay Digong. 'Di ba? Kumbaga sa yung hindi niya pagsipot, yung pagbaliwala niya, pag hindi niya pagharap, pinapagpatibay niya yung narrative na siya ay biktima ng foreign intervention. At lahat ito ay pinagplanuhan ng bangag na presidente. 'Di ba? Ganyan. Baka bukas niya may warrant na yung mga judges na yan. Galing Kremlin kay President Putin. Kaya nga 'Di ba, biruin mo sinabi niya, forcibly push into jet. 'Di ba? Yan yung magtinding pahayag ni PRRD na siya ay kinidnap at ni rendition, 'di ba? Ni-rendition siya. Mabigat 'yon. Mabigat 'yon. Yun ang pinaglalaban niya na hanggang ngayon pinaglalaban niya. Kaya talagang bibilib ka talaga kay Tatay Digong, 'di ba? Putang na, hanggang sa pagtanda, hanggang sa mahina na siya, kahit na di umano'y mabulok siya sa kulungan at doon na bawian ng buhay, pinaninindigan niya yung ipinaglalaban niya. 'Di ba?
Magaling kang kupal ka.
Kasi under Ferdinand Marcos Jr. yung nagbigay ng cooperation eh. Ibig sabihin, yung nangyari kay Tatay Digong, political decision ng executive branch. Political decision ng isang bangag na presidente. Diba? Kasi ang tanong dito, ano eh, hindi lang legality, kundi political alignment at saka power realignment sa pagitan ng Marcos at saka ng Duterte. Tama, mali? Ano epekto nito? Sa Pilipinas may narrative diyan. O di ba? Ang narrative na lumalabas dito sa ating mga Duterte, sa supporters si PRRD, ito ang ginawa kay Tatay Digong, political persecution ito. Di ba? Political persecution. May short-term memory loss sa PRRD according to nabasa ko nga sa interview, nabasa ko. 'Di ba? Political persecution 'to eh. Kumbaga sa tapos handali bubuksan ko lang aircon lang init. Ang ginawa kay Tatay Digong, political persecution. 'Di ba? Ang ginawa kay Tatay Digong, foreign interference, pakikialam ng mga foreigner. Higit sa lahat, ipinagkanulo siya ng bangag na presidente. Ay, Kuya, Placido Pilosopo, shoutout sa'yo. Pinagkanulo siya ng bangag na presidente. Di ba? Pinalalabas nila, mga biktima, itong mga putang inang to, mga dilawan na to, itong mga makabayang black na mga NPA. Di ba? Yung mga kritiko, isama na natin yan. Sinasabi nila, kailangan managot accountability. Accountability for the alleged crime against humanity, yung sinasabi nila. Tapos meron pa sila sinasabi na due process under international law, rule of law, mga ganyan, beyond domestic politics. Diba? Pero yung pagtanggi ni PRRD, nagpapalakas yan ng simpatya sa base at paninindigan niya na putang ina ninyo, hindi ko kayo iginagalang. Parang ganon. Hindi, putang ina nyo. Hanggang ngayon, pinaniniwalaan ko, paninindigan ko na wala kayong jurisdiction sa akin. Animal kayo. Mamatay na lang ako rito pero ipaglalabang ko. Mabulok na lang ako rito, ipaglalabang ko. Wala kayong jurisdiction sa akin. Diba? Ganyang katapang. Putang lang, kaya ba ni bangag yan? Hindi kaya ni bangag yan, putang na, baka si bangag nagkaihi, nagkatai-tai na yan sa tagiliran niya tsaka sa bulsa niya. Diba? Hindi niya kinikilala ang ICC. Diba? Kaya magiging tingin nga ng international community yan, lalong-lalo na yung mga hindi miyembro. Kaya yung mga miyembro ng ICC dyan, di ba, unti-unti na nga nag-aalisan? Pag may nangyaring masama kay Tatay Digong, gugu ang ICC. Bakit? Mawawalan sila ng tiwala sa ICC. Bakit? Kasi maaaring mangyari sa kanila yung nangyari kay Tatay Digong. Di ba, maaaring gawin sa kanila yung ginawa nila kay Tatay Digong. Di ba? Kasi gusto nila humarap si Tatay Digong eh. Yun ang gusto nila ngayon, ipakita na handa siyang ipagtanggol yung sarili niya. Wala na nga eh. Hindi na nga makaalala eh. Makakalimutin na eh. May sinabi pa si Attorney Kapman na na hindi na talaga siya nakakaalala, 'di ba? Short ano 'yon? Short lost memory, 'di ba? Mm. Sige, putangin na nyo, mag-hearing kayo dyan. Hindi ako sasali dyan. Bakit? Hindi ko kinikilala yung korte nyo eh. Oh, yan. Diba? Yan ang nangyari dyan. Oh, short-term lost memory. Matanda na si PRRD, kawawa siya. Kinawawa siya ng administrasyong Marcos. Putang, may gaba rin yan, maniwala ka sa akin. May gaba rin yan. May gaba yan, maniwala ka. Ate Rose Danke. Di ba? Kasi malinaw na malinaw nakipagsabuatan yung ICC sa gobyerno Marcos eh, di ba nga? Sa ano sabi ng ICC? Ano sabi ng ICC? In cooperation of the government of the Philippines. Di ba nakipag-cooperate ang bansang Pilipinas, gobyerno ng Pilipinas sa ICC para makuha nila si PRRD. Di ba yun ang maliwanag? Oh. Diba? Kasi kung mapapatunayan may aktibong kooperasyon yung administrasyon ni Marcos sa ICC, ay putang nagyera talaga ito. Ito ang magiging problema. Alam naman ng lahat yan, maglalabasan lahat yan pagdating ng kampanya. Diba? Cooperation with the Philippine government. Kaya nga eh. Magiging central campaign issue yan sa 2028. Yan ang problema ng administrasyong Marcos. Putang ina, mananagot kay dyan. Kahit tumingi ka ng patawad, bongbong, putang ina ka, walang patapatawad. Anong sabi ni BP Inday?
Ang sorry ay para sa mga bagay na hindi sinasadya. Kapag sinadya mo, ay dapat magbayad ka.
Diba? Sige, wag mong sabihin BBM na hindi mo sinasadya yan. Wag mong sabihin Rimulya, ikaw John Vic, ikaw Tore, wag niyong sabihin hindi niyo sinasadya yan. Ket, shoutout sa'yo ha, Suzuki Davao. Kaya nga nerbyosong-nervyoso kayo eh. Wala pa naman kayong kandidato para sa 2028. Wala kayong panapat kay BP Inday. Parang nasakyat na ata ang impeachment, naakyat na. Sa Senate? Naakyat na sa Senate? Sigurado kayo? Kaya pala nagkaroon ng ng Kaya ba nagkaroon ng mahabang suspension sa Senate? Inakyat na sa Senate, nakakuha ng pirma?
Nakakuha daw po ng pinakamaraming flood control projects mula po sa DPWH dahil daw po sa naganap ng mga irregularidad. Nasaan ha? Dahil po sa bagay na ito. Pero, sa isa pong...
Wala pa akong nababasa. Send niya, magtatagal pa yan. Magtagal pa yan. Magtatagal pa yan. Kasi pagbobotohan pa yan doon sa plenary. Magtatagal pa yan doon. Ay nako, sa Justice Committee, kala ko nasa Senado na eh. Diyos mio Marimar. Itatambay pa nila ng tama yan, itatambay pa nila ng 2 buwan yan yung impeachment ni BP Inday. Putang nagagawa pa sila ng mga narrative doon para sirain si BP Inday. Mas maganda nga sirain nyo na ngayon si BP Inday, sirain nyo na ninyong sirain. Oo, matagal pa naman 2 taon pa naman 28 months pa 28 months bago ang halalan. Diba? 28 months pa. Putang na mawawala rin sa isip yan ng mga Pilipino. Oo, ang lalabas ngayon, putang ina nyo, inapi nyo ng inapi si BP Inday. Magkakaroon pa nga ng quadcom diba? Iimbestigahan pa, diba? Putang na hindi titigil yung mga hinayupak na yan. Wala na, immune na si BP Sara dyan. Oo, immune na yan. Diba? Alam nyo, yung ginawa ni Tatay Digong na hindi niya pag-appear dyan sa ICC, ano yan, confirmation of charges. Kasi yung confirmation of charges, ano yan, kung itutuloy o hindi yung trial. Kung etong confirmation of charges, dito malalaman kung magkakaroon ng trial o wala. Pagka dating dyan sa confirmation of charges, naisampay mga reklamo, pagka may sinabi may probable cause, iaakyat na yan sa magkakaroon ng trial. Pero pagka binasura yan, malamang confirmation charges, iaakyat talaga nila yan. Putang na, ICC yan. Mga baliw yan Mga baliw yan, mga hayop na yan Diba? Pero yung ginawa ni Tatay Digong, ano yan? Politically powerful yan. Kaya lang, medyo legally weak. Legally weak. Ano yan kumbaga sa magkakaroon ng pero bilib din kasi ako sa tapang ni Tatay Digong. Bilib ako. Puta talaga hindi niya hiniharap Talagang pinanindigan niya. Putang ina niyo, wala kayong jurisdiction sa akin, di ba? Ayun talagang gusto niyang palabasin napaka-effective niyan sa mga supporters si Tatay Digong. Talagang hindi siya lumuhod sa ICC. Para talaga parang nagkatotoo yung sinabi niya na ang ICC, sipain ko pa yan parang ganon, di ba? Kaya lang, nandun na siya. Pero yung hindi niya pag-attend, putang na sampal yon sa ICC. Sampal yon sa ICC ni putang na itong mga bastos tong Duterte na to hindi tayo ginagalang nito Parang ganon nangyayari ngayon. Di ba?
Magaling kang kupal ka.
Nagtataka ka ba, boss, yung nasa Banatero si BP, walang balita ang... Talaga, hindi nila papuputokin yan Ang ganda ng interview nila Ang ganda ng interview. Oo, Jeb Rivera ni BP Sara doon. Talagang nilatag niya na doon. 'Di ba? Kaya hindi kumakalat sa mainstream media 'yon, pero kalat sa social media. Nanonood nga sila Ang daming viewer Umabot ng 21,000 live viewer sa isang channel pa lang ng SMNI, 'di ba? Ngayon, nandun yung mga putang ina mga NPA doon sa Dahig. Teritoryo nila yun Dahig. Oo. Teritoryo ng nila, ng amo nilang si Joe Masison baka sila ngayon ang nakatira doon sa mansyon ni Joe Masison. Baka doon natutulog yung mga hinayupak na yun.
Magaling kang kupal ka.
Diba? Ganyan yan sila. Ay, wag niyo kalimutan mag-like share at saka subscribe sa mga hindi pa di ba? Pakikisuyo na lang. Ang problema nga lang, hindi talaga mapipigilan yung ICC, yung proseso sa ICC. Kasi, ang para sa akin ako, sa opinion ko, sa legality, mas maganda humarap si Tatay Digong. Kaya lang, alam naman na natin si Tatay Digong, matigas talaga ulo niyan eh. May prinsipyo yan eh. Hindi niya talaga, kasi tinanggap niya na sa sarili niya na doon na siya babawian ng buhay. 'Di ba? Tinanggap niya na eh. Pero sana magtagumpay tayo rito sa confirmation of charges, makita, malaman, magising ang ito lahat ng ito gawa-gawang kwento lang ito, gawa-gawang istorya lang ito. Oo, base dun sa mga datos na ipinresinta nila dati na 30,000 yung biktima ng war on drugs. 'Di ba? Ay nako. Kasi ito kayo. Sa palagay ba ninyo merong gustong patunayan si Tatay Digong patungkol sa jurisdiction? Meron, 'di ba? Hindi talaga niya sinipot eh. 'Yun ang gusto niyang patunayan. Ano ang implikasyon nito sa buong mundo? Lalong-lalo na yung mga hindi kumikilala sa ICC, yung mga hindi miyembro ng ICC. Pagpatalagay mo na pati mga miyembro. 'Di ba? Oh. Sige nga. Ano kaya ang ano nito? Implikasyon nito. Ito umpisa na oh. Nako, hindi pa nag-uumpisa. Confirmation of charges hearing. International, start na, wala pa oh. Tagal. Dami nanonood oh, wala pa. Alas 10 sa kanila, anong oras na ba ngayon? Malaking sampal sa kanila ito yung ginawa ni Tatay Digong. Putang na persimanes na hindi sila kinikilala. Hindi kasi meron talagang gustong patunayan dito eh. Si Tatay Digong eh. Oh, 'di ba? Meron talaga. Kaya lang mas political, mas symbolic ang gustong ipakita ni Tatay Digong. Kasi bakit? Ano pwede mga layunin ni PRRD sa hindi niya pagkilala? Para yung gusto niyang patunayan tungkol dun sa jurisdiction, di ba? Anong ibig sabihin ni Tatay Digong? Hindi niya talaga kayang patigilin. Kaya lang, ang problema, hindi niya talaga kayang patigilin yung ICC sa simpleng pag-deny ng jurisdiction. Pero maaari niyang pwede niyang i-frame ang ICC na walang kapangyarihan. Di ba? Walang kapangyarihan para sa kanya, talagang antibay talaga. Di ba? Pinapakita niya talaga na hindi siya nagpapasakop sa foreign court. Foreign court, di ba? Tapos isinlalagay niya yung usapan dun sa soberenya, hindi doon sa alleged crime. Andong kaya si Garma, titistigo rin ba siya? Hindi! Putang ina, ako naniniwala ako pagdating ng mga cross-examination, mag-iiyakan yung mga yan. Alam nyo, kahit gaano nila tinrain niya, kahit itrain nila ng 1 buwan yan, pag nagsisinungaling yan, putang ina, mauhuli pa rin yan.
Magaling kang kupal ka.
Lalo-lalo na may mga ebidensya naman na ipinresenta rin ang kampo ng mga Duterte. Ano palagay ninyo sa ano palagay ninyo kay PRRD? Tanga? Oh, ano palagay ninyo sa mga abogado ni PRRD noong mga panahon nakaupo siya? Mga tanga? Kaya nga, confirmation of charges pa lang to, Jeb Rivera. Confirmation of charges pa lang to. Malalaman pa lang dito kung magkakaroon ng trial o wala. 'Di ba? Yun. Oh. Yan ang maganda. Ang problema rito, lalakas lalo yung simpatya. Kawawa naman sila sa 2028. Ay, Ate May Joy, Louie, shoutout sa iyo, Mayang, nako, ang lulungkot ninyo. Ako rin naman kung ano, ayoko rin makita si Tatay Digong na sa kalagayan niya ngayon eh. Mas gusto kong maalala siya yung nagbibiro siya, nag-i-speech siya.
All rise, veuillez vous
Yan,
lever.
tuloy na. Ito na.
The International Criminal Court is now in session. L'audience de la Cour pénale internationale est ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Bonjour à tous.
Good morning to all. I would like to welcome all those inside and outside of this courtroom. Madam Courtroom Officer, could you please call the case?
Good morning, Madam President, Your Honors. Situation in the Republic of the Philippines in the case of the prosecutor versus Rodrigo Roa Duterte, case reference ICC 0121-0125, and for the record, we are in open session.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I am now going to ask the parties and participants to introduce themselves. Starting by Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Could I please ask you to introduce yourself and to confirm to me whether the list of your team members that I received before the hearing is correct? Thank you, Madam President. Your Honours. The Office of the Prosecutor is represented today by myself. I'm Niai, Deputy Prosecutor. By my side, I have James Mirity, Case Manager. I have Mr. Julian Nichols, Senior Trial Lawyer. And behind us, we have Mr. Edward Jeremy, Trial Lawyer, Madam Robin Croft, Trial Lawyer, Madam Maria Berdenikova, Trial Lawyer, and lastly, Hannah Allen, Associate Trial Lawyer. These are the individuals comprising our team today, and I thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Now, before moving on to the defence, I note that Mr. Duterte is not present in the courtroom today. Indeed, on the 20th of February 2026, the Chamber granted Mr. Duterte's request to waive his rights to be present at the confirmation of charges hearing. Pursuant to Article 61(2)(a) of the Rome Statute and Rule 124 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence. In this decision, number 387, the Chamber concluded that the conditions contained in the provisions were fulfilled. namely that Mr. Duterte has the right and knows he has the right to be present at the confirmation of charges hearing and knows the consequences of waiving this right. However, Mr. Duterte's counsel is present today to represent him. Counsel, could you please introduce yourself and confirm to me that the list of your team members that I received before the hearing is indeed correct?
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Your Honours. Indeed, the list before you is correct. May I introduce my team? To my left, I have Dr. Dov Jacobs. To my right, I have Ms. Havnit Sethi. Sitting next to her is Maître Alexandre Désir-Dabi. Behind him, Attorney David Rancati. Sitting next to him, Maître Sandrine de Sena. And our two further lawyers, we have Nicolas Rousseau and also Kaylin Chen. And if Your Honour will permit me, there are also Filipino attorneys who are attending and supporting us today, and I'll briefly mention their names. Maître Salvador Mediadea, who Your Honours are familiar with from the initial appearance. Attorney Martin Delgra, Attorney Silvestre Bello, Attorney Alfredo Lim, Attorney César Doulay, and of course, Attorney Salvador Panelo. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Maître. J'ai envie de...
Thank you very much, Counsel. I would like to now call upon the legal representatives of victims to present them, to introduce themselves and confirm to me that the list of your team members I received before is correct.
Victims participating in this proceeding are represented today by Mr. Joel Butuyan, Mr. Gilbert Andres, myself, Paulina Masida, and I confirm the list of our jurists who assist us today as provided to the court officer. Thank you very much.
Oh, nasa si Conti.
Merci beaucoup,
Wala si
Mr.
Conti.
Thank you very much,
O, tanga na ka,
Maître
Conti. Hindi ka
Masida.
pala abogado eh.
Thank you. On my right, I have Judge Rain Adelaide. And I have Judge Adelaide Sophie Alapina Gansu, and to my right I have Maria del Socorro Flores Liera. And I am Julia Antonuela Motok, and I am the presiding judge in pretrial chamber 1 of the court. This hearing concerns the confirmation of charges by the prosecution against Mr. Duterte. At this stage of pretrial proceedings, the OTP alleges that Mr. Duterte is responsible for the crimes that the court officer shall read out shortly. The Chamber shall not take any decision with regard to the guilt or innocence of Mr. Duterte during this hearing. Indeed, the role of the Chamber is to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to establish substantial grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte committed the crimes with which he is charged. If all or part of the charges are confirmed, the Chamber will refer the case to trial, where the trial chamber will decide upon the innocence or guilt of Mr. Duterte. The general principles to be applied at the hearing are as follows. The suspect, in accordance with Article 66 of the Rome Statute, the suspect is considered to be innocent until his guilt has been proven by the court. The burden of proof is upon the
Innocent pala eh.
OTP,
Bakit hindi nyo pa
which must
uwiin, mga
produce
gago?
sufficient evidence to prove the charges against Mr. Duterte at the required standard of proof, at Article 61, paragraph 7 of the Rome Statute. Finally, the defense enjoys, or the suspect enjoys, all the rights listed at Article 61, paragraphs 6 and 67 of the Rome Statute. The hearing shall take place according to the schedule contained in the order dated the 26th of January 2026, document number 359. The parties and participants must respect the allocated speaking times indicated in this order. I would like to remind the parties and participants that oral remarks must be concise and that repetition of previously presented arguments should be avoided. In addition, in order to facilitate the work of the interpreters and ensure the proper transcription of discussions, please make sure that your microphone is on every time you address the court. And please speak slowly and mark pauses between each sentence. Generally speaking, the hearing will be held in open session, and parties and participants will refrain from mentioning the names of victims and witnesses. They will only refer to them by their pseudonym or their code. In order to avoid the disclosure of any confidential information, notably with regard to witnesses and victims, the parties and participants will clearly indicate whether their submissions can be presented in public or whether they deem it necessary to move into private session, notably when referring to items of evidence. The parties and participants will clearly indicate when it is no longer necessary to remain in private session. With these rules in place, we can now move to the reading of the charges in its shortened form, indicating the charges against Mr. Duterte. The full version is available publicly on the internet site of the court. The defense has not raised any objections in this regard. I would like to remind the public that the charges that shall be read out in a few seconds comprise allegations raised by the Office of the Prosecutor that the Chamber shall analyze in order to decide whether the evidence presented by the Office of the Prosecutor is sufficient in order for these charges to be confirmed. Madam Courtroom Officer, would you please read the charges?
The prosecution charges Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of murder and attempted murder as a crimes against humanity committed between 2013 and around June 2016 and between around July 2016 and September 2018 in the Republic of the Philippines as follows. Count 1. Murder of 19 victims alleged to be criminals, including 3 children, who were killed in or around Davao City in the Philippines between 2013 and around 2016 by members of the Davao Death Squad, while Mr. Duterte was the mayor of the Davao City pursuant to Article 71A of the Rome Statute. Count 2. Murder of 14 victims labeled as high-value targets for their alleged criminality, who were killed in locations across the Philippines between around July 2016 and July 2017 by a network of perpetrators comprising state actors and others, referred to as the national network, while Mr. Duterte was the president of the Philippines pursuant to Article 7(1)(a) of the Rome Statute. And count 3, murder and attempted murder of 45 victims, comprising 43 murders
45!
and 2 attempted murders of persons alleged to be criminals, including 3 children who were
Against
targeted
humanity,
in barangay
45!
clearance operations in locations across the Philippines between around July 2016 and September 2018 by members of the national network, while Mr. Duterte was the president of the Philippines pursuant to Articles 7(1)(a) and 25(3)(f) in respect of the attempted murder of the Rome Statute. The prosecution alleges that Mr. Duterte is individually criminally responsible for all 3 of the above counts as follows. First, as an indirect co-perpetrator
Wala
pursuant
pang
to Article
100!
25(3)(a) of the Rome Statute.
Mas
At
marami
least
pang pinatay
between
yung
1st
mga
November 2011 and 16 March 2019, Mr.
mangong
Duterte
dadato.
and his co-perpetrators shared a common plan to neutralize alleged criminals in the Philippines, including individuals perceived or alleged to be associated with drug use, sale, or production, through violent crimes including murder. Mr. Duterte and his co-perpetrators implemented this common plan through the hierarchically organized structures
Nasa
of
na
the
yung
Davao City
30,000?
Police, of the
Anak,
Davao City
stupid.
Police and Davao Death Squad, and then the national network. Within the framework of the common plan, Mr. Duterte made essential contributions to the crimes in counts
Ay,
1
ang
to
patuan
3
nga pala, ang patuan, sorry.
A. Designing and disseminating the police to neutralize alleged criminals, both in his role as a mayor of the Davao City and also during his presidential campaign and as a president, including by endorsing the anti-illegal drugs campaign Double Barrel. B. Establishing and overseeing the DDS. C. Instructing and authorizing violent acts, including murder, to be committed against alleged criminals, including alleged drug dealers and users. D. Providing personnel and other necessary logistic resources such as weapons, including those to be used in the execution of the crimes. E. Appointing key personnel to positions which were crucial to the execution of the crimes. F. Offering financial incentives and promotions to police officers and hitmen to kill alleged criminals. G. Creating and maintaining a system in which perpetrators knew they would be protected, including through promises of immunity and shielding perpetrators from investigation and prosecutions. H. Making public statements authorizing, condoning, and encouraging killings of alleged criminals, both as a mayor of the Davao City and as a president of the Philippines. I. Authorizing state actors to take part in the anti-drugs campaign and temporarily revoking such authorization, including to placate public outcry. J. Publicly naming individuals and holding up charts from lists of alleged criminals, including so-called high-value targets, some of whom were subsequently killed. Second, in the alternative, Mr. Duterte is charged with ordering and/or inducing the charged crimes pursuant to Article 25(3)(b) of the Rome Statute, and/or aiding and abetting these crimes pursuant to Article 25(3)(c) of the Rome Statute.
Merci, Madame la greffière.
Thank you, Madam Courtroom Officer. With regard to objections and observations under Rule 122, paragraph 3 of the Rules
Nasaan
of
yung against
Procedure and
humanity doon?
Evidence,
46.
the Chamber notes that the defence
Nanyo.
submitted a number of written observations, and the last of which was on the 16th of February 2026, to which the OTP and the legal representatives of victims responded, respectively, on the 17th and the 18th of February 2026. On the 20th of February 2026, the Chamber dismissed, in its public decision, the defence's objections. In specifying that the defense and the Office of the Prosecutor are not permitted to reiterate the same arguments already presented in the findings mentioned, that they filed to date in this case, I will now ask if the parties wish to make any oral submissions on this point before moving to the opening statements. Mr. Deputy Prosecutor? Mr. Nyang, we do not have any submissions to make in this regard. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Counsel?
Merci beaucoup, Maître Kaufmann. Donc, on peut maintenant passer à la phase.
So we can now move on to stage 2, namely the opening statements, and I hand over to the Office of the Prosecutor. Mr. Deputy Prosecutor, please.
Madam President, honorable member of the bench, all those following these proceedings inside the courtroom and outside,
Buti nga
and
wala na si
especially
Manyak na prosecutor si Karim Khan
in the Philippines. Today marks an important day for international justice for the people of the Philippines, for the victims, and for this court. The commencement of the confirmation hearing against Mr. Rodrigo Roa Duterte is a reminder of the court's unwavering commitment to its mission to investigate and prosecute individuals for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community and to bring justice to the thousands of victims of the mass crimes and atrocities perpetrated in the Philippines. It is also a reminder that those in power are not above the law. Your Honors, over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, I will provide an overview of the evidence in this case that demonstrates that Mr. Duterte is responsible for the charged crimes. And my team will then develop aspects of this evidence in more details. This case before you today, it is before you today because there are substantial grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte is criminally responsible for those 3 counts of murder just spelled out and attempted murder as crimes against humanity. These charged crimes were committed during the time within the court jurisdiction, which is between the 1st of November 2011 and the 16th of March 2019. At first, they were committed in and around Davao City, where Mr. Duterte was a mayor, and then expanded across the rest of the Philippines when he became president. Mr. Duterte is charged with 49 incidents of murder and attempted murder of 78 victims, including children.
78 na
These
yan,
murder
total.
and attempted murders were part of a widespread and systematic attack that overall resulted in the killings of thousands of civilians across the country
Tausan. Nasa
during
ebidensya ninyo.
the relevant
Putangin ninyo.
time frame. Thus, the charged incidents are merely a fraction
Tausan, putang.
of the overall criminality that resulted from Mr. Duterte's so-called war on drugs. What is Mr. Duterte's core contribution? Your Honors, Mr. Duterte played a pivotal role in the commission of the charged crimes. His contribution was essential, as he was at the very heart of the common plan to use his words, to neutralize alleged criminals in the Philippines, including through murders. The victim included individuals associated with or perceived to be associated with drugs. One of the first things Mr. Duterte did when he became the mayor of Davao back in 1988 was to create the infamous Davao Death Squad, otherwise known as DDS. As you will have seen from the prosecution pre-confirmation brief, Mr. Duterte personally instructed Death Squad members that their mission was to kill criminals and suspected criminals, including drug users and dealers, also referred to as drug pushers. The death squads carried out this mission well into the charge period through 2011 to 2016, perpetrating the crimes charged in count 1. Your Honors, Mr. Duterte's criminal plan and his intent were no secret. He not only shared them with his co-perpetrators and members of the death squad, but also made them abundantly clear to the general public in the numerous public statements that he made time and again. During his presidential campaign, Mr. Duterte explicitly vowed to implement the common plan to neutralize alleged criminal nationwide if elected. This was his program to be elected. He publicly announced his intention to eradicate corruption, criminality, and drugs in 3 to 6 months. And this is what he said. I quote, "If I become the president, I will order the military and the police to hunt down the drug lords, the big ones, and kill them." That's what he said. And this can be found at tab 12 of the prosecution list of material. Similarly, when speaking about druggies, I quote, in a televised interview in 2015, this is again what he said. "If I become president, you will all get wiped out. I will order your execution within 24 hours. That's what he said. That I quote directly from his word. And this quote can be found at tab 19.2 of the prosecution list of
Gago,
materials.
hyperbole yun.
Yeah,
Makinig ka kay Senator Miriam Santiago. Hyperbole
OTP
yun.
401684, page 003, and these are the lines 82 to 83. And elected he was. And becoming president on 13th of June 2016, this provided him with the opportunity to follow through with his promise and to expand extrajudicial killings of alleged criminals beyond Davao and across the rest of the Philippines. He did this through the implementation of the National Anti-Illegal Drug Campaign, better known as Duterte's War on Drug, and its project, Double Barrel. These were carried out by the national network consisting of law enforcement personnel working together with non-police assets and hitmen. Mr. Duterte authorized murder and personally selected some of the targets. During the mayoral period, when he was mayor, his clearance was required for the DDS to carry out the killings. Essentially, members of the DDS needed Mr. Duterte's green light to murder. And during the presidential period, Mr. Duterte has continued to personally identify some of the targets, including by publicly naming those he claimed were involved in illegal drug trade or in other forms of criminality. He also identified targets by holding up a list containing their name. And if you are on the list, you will be killed. And this was a word of one prosecution witness. And this evidence can be found at tab 54 of the prosecution list of materials, ERN PHL OTP 00015 page 0009, and the relevant lines are 260 to 261. Mr. Duterte provided moral and financial support to the direct perpetrators as well. In a 12 December 2016 speech, Mr. Duterte admitted that he used to ride around Davao on a motorcycle looking for trouble, so he could kill. And he said, and this again his own word I'm quoting here, in Davao, I used to do it personally, just to show the guy that if I can do it, why can't you? And these are his own words. And this quote can be found at tab 16.1 of the prosecution list of material, ERN PHL OTP 0001547 at 0002 lines 7 and 8. And the evidence show that Mr. Duterte's Davao City Mayor office provided some member of the DDS with a regular salary. Financial rewards were also given to direct perpetrators in the form of cash per head of killing. And at a press conference, in 2013, Mr. Duterte stated that shoot to kill orders and reward are, and I quote him, are legitimate tools of government to fight lawlessness. This is his own word. And if he surrendered to me or his carcass dead, then I double the price. And again, yeah, and that was what he boasted. This quote can be found at tab 17.2 of the prosecution list of materials, PSL
Trillanes sa Trillanes yung script.
dash 000094932
Trillanes yan.
at 0002, and the relevant lines are line 7 to 11. Deaths of drug personalities killed in anti-drug operation were endorsed
Ay, Mami Beb,
by
shoutout sa'yo.
Mr. Duterte's administration and listed as official accomplishment in public reporting. Your Honors, as you will have seen confirmation brief, Mr. Duterte also provided the direct perpetrators with weapons, ammunition, and logistical support to facilitate the commission of the charged crime.
Gago.
And he also had control,
Trillanes sa
wide
Trillanes
control
ah.
over those crimes. And let me now turn specifically to that control. As mayor of Davao and later as president of the Philippines, Mr. Duterte wielded ultimate influence and authority over the physical perpetrators of the crimes. As mayor, Mr. Duterte was chief executive of the Davao city government, with responsibility for exercising general supervision and control over all its activities. He had formal operational supervision and control over National Police Unit in Davao. As creator and head of the DDS, he also had de facto control over the death squad
Si Jim
members.
Rivera, member ng DDS yan.
When
Si Major.
Mr. Duterte
si
became
Rose Dangke,
president
member din
on the
ng
30th
DDS
of
yan.
June 2016, he sat at the very apex of the political power structure in the Philippines. He became the head of state, head of government, and commander-in-chief of all armed forces of the Philippines. He also became the leader of the country's police forces. This level of
Siguro
authority
tumatawa ngayon sila Palero
allowed
at
him
saka sila
to
Atty.
wield
Delgra.
de jure and de facto control over those implementing the common plan nationwide. Mr. Duterte's control over the crime is also apparent from his ability to interrupt their commission when he so chooses. And as outlined in our reconfirmation brief, he successfully suspended police anti-illegal drug operation on 2 occasions following public outcries in response to particularly notorious killings. On both occasions, the number of reported killings dropped significantly during the suspension, showcasing his control. So when he asks people to act, they act. When he asks them to refrain, they do so. So they oblige. So Mr. Duterte was well aware of the authority he had over the perpetrators. In a speech given to the National Bureau of Investigation in November 2016, he expressly acknowledged his position of power. And this is what he said. To the military, I am commander-in-chief. On the civilian side, I am the chief executive of the government. And when talking about the police, this is what he's saying. They are my subordinate, and I am ultimately responsible for their deeds. And these are quotations. And they can be found at tab 131.2 of our prosecution list of materials at ERN PHL-OTP-00095679, page 0004, and the relevant lines are from 131 to 134. And the direct perpetrators complied with Duterte's order and respected his authority. Mr. Duterte was respected by the physical perpetrators. He was feared, and his order and instruction were obeyed. One inside witness explicitly says that the police killed, and I quote, because of the directive of the president. This is what the witness said, an insider. And this quote can be found at tab 120 of the prosecution list of material, ERN PHL OTP -000886331-R01 and page 66, and the relevant line are from 2304 to 2306. And this statement is corroborated by other statements we are also provided. And some direct perpetrator complied because of their blind loyalty to Mr. Duterte. Some did it out of fear, and others were encouraged to comply by promises of money and rewards. For some, killings reached the level of a perverse form of competition with effort to attain killing quotas, which in turn would lead to promotions and rewards. Others felt there was no other choice but to comply, with one insider explaining that it was simply not possible to not obey Mr. Duterte's command.
Binabasa pa lang yung
And
charges.
this is
yung
also
charges.
from an insider witness. And this evidence can be found at tab 51 of the prosecution list of materials, ERN PHL-OTP-0015403 at page 0008 to 0009, and the relevant line here is from 240 to 245. Direct perpetrators were further emboldened to commit crime by Mr. Duterte's repeated promises of immunity. In various public statements, Mr. Duterte vowed to protect the police involved in killing. And this is what he said again. For as long as there is a power to pardon in the Constitution, that's my weapon against crime. If you massacre 100 and there are 100 of you, then you will all be pardoned. Restore to full political and civil rights, plus a promotion to boot. It's like that, especially the high profile. And this quote can be found at tab 130.2 of the prosecution list of materials at ERN PHL-OTP and 50336 at page 0010. Such statements reassure the physical perpetrators. One insider described that he felt confident to continue killing people because he knew that he wouldn't be arrested for that. And this evidence can be found at tab 38 of the prosecution list of material, ERN PHL-OTP 0001-2779 at page 0005, and relevant lines are from 130 to 131. Your Honors, let me now say a few words about the contextual elements. The 78 murders and attempted murders that Mr. Duterte is charged with in this case were not random. These were not random crimes, nor was they spontaneous or happened in isolation. Rather, the evidence demonstrates that they were part of a widespread and systematic attack directed against the civilians population of the Philippines. The murders and attempted murders were carried out across the Philippines and over a substantial period of time. Overall, Duterte's so-called war on drugs resulted in the killings of thousands of civilians from the 1st of November 2011 to the 16th of March 2019. And many of these victims were...
Excuse me, counsel, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay. Yes, were children. The victim of extrajudicial killing charge in this case were brutally murdered, some after having been abducted and mistreated. Unlike Mr. Duterte, who is represented by his counsel here today, they were deprived of any form of due process. The loss of every single one of these victims had the most profound impact on their families, their friends, and ultimately their communities. Their suffering was met not merely with Mr. Duterte's indifference, but with his mocking. In a 25 July 2016 speech, he expressly made fun of the iconic photograph portraying the partner of an extrajudicial killing victim cradling his body, which now visible on our screen. While the specific incident portrayed in this photograph is not charged in this case, Mr. Duterte's comment on it is demonstrative of his attitude towards the victims. In reference to this photo, Mr. Duterte, this is what he said. Those of you who are still sober, those who haven't tried illegal drugs, if you don't want to die or get hurt, don't rely on the priest, including human rights advocate. They won't be able to prevent death. So, don't do it. And then, there you are, sprawled on the ground, and you are portrayed in a broadsheet like Mother Mary cradling the dead cadaver of Jesus Christ. That's how they are creating dramas here. This is what he said. And this quote can be found at tab 128 of the prosecution list of material at ERN PHL-OTP-50335, page 0008. And of course, the question of whether Mr. Duterte had knowledge and intent, of course, it goes without saying. Your Honors, Mr. Duterte intended and knew that the charged crime were occurring, or that they would occur in the ordinary course of events that he had set in place and put in motion. His intent and knowledge are shown by the multiple statements he made throughout his mayoral and presidential tenure, promising to reduce crimes by killing alleged criminals, promoting the common plan, and urging police and even members of the public to kill alleged criminals. As detailed in the prosecution pre-confirmation brief, and as Your Honor will hear in the course of my team's presentation, Mr. Duterte also made statements directly acknowledging allegation of extrajudicial killings by his subordinates and issued written order showing he knew about the crimes they committed. Your Honors, the prosecution relies on significant and varied sources of evidence to demonstrate that substantial ground exists to believe that Mr. Duterte is criminally responsible for the crimes. This evidence includes multiple witness statements, including insider witnesses. It includes many speeches of Mr. Duterte himself, as well as the statement of his co-perpetrators. It also includes orders and other documents signed by himself. The prosecution further relies on official government documents, including material from the Philippine National Police. It relies on drug watch lists, on audio and video material, as well as on forensic and financial evidence. Your Honors, during the prosecution's subsequent presentation, my colleague will elaborate on some of these core evidence in more detail. Mr. Nichols will give a presentation on Mr. Duterte's background, followed by an overview of the evidence demonstrating his responsibility for the crime charged in count 1. This will be followed by the presentation of Mr. Jeremy behind me, who will speak about the evidence demonstrating Mr. Duterte's responsibility as president for the crime charged in count 2 entry. And Ms. Croft, on my left, will then elaborate on the contextual element of crime against humanity and the mode of liability through which Mr. Duterte is responsible for the crimes alleged in this case. And to conclude, Madam President, Your Honor, while this court cannot reunite victims with their loved one, it can help reveal the truth about what happened to them and bring a sense of justice to the victim. The charges before you today are serious, and the evidence submitted require their confirmation. And Mr. Duterte must be held to account, and this case should be confirmed for trial. I thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor. Now we are slightly in advance on our schedule. I will now hand over to the legal representative of victims for her opening statements until 11, and then after that you shall continue. Please proceed, ma'am.
Ito pa isang sinungaling. Oh,
Madam President,
isa pa sinungaling
Your
ng
Honors,
Pilipino yan eh.
by way of an opening statement, we convey the views and concerns of the 497 victims authorized to participate in these proceedings. At the outset, Your Honors, we communicate the very deep disappointment of the victims at the decision allowing Rodrigo Duterte not to be present in this stage of confirmation of charges. The sight of Mr. Duterte being read and being confronted with the grave and horrible charges against him would have constituted a vital component of justice for the victims. This case
Si
symbolically
Buto
represents
yan? Buto
the
yan ba
last
yun?
boat
Buto yan?
that the victims can board to go on a journey in search of justice for their loved ones who were brutally killed upon the orders of Mr. Duterte. If this chamber prevents the boat from sailing by not confirming the charges, the victims will forever be moored in an island where the nights are filled with the screams and cries of their massacred loved ones. There is absolutely no other recourse for the victims. No less than former Philippine Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla admitted just a few months ago that the door to domestic justice is permanently closed for victims of the Duterte extrajudicial killings. Remulla declared, and we quote, "It is difficult to prove the case here and build up the case because those who need to speak are involved in the crime. There's nothing, not even a police report. You don't have a scene of the crime, you don't have ballistics, you don't have DNA." Remulla further declared, and I quote, "Everything that could be erased was erased so that the cases would not push through. That is why this has reached the ICC." Under the Philippine justice system, Your Honors, no criminal case can reach the courts unless they are initiated and filed by the Department of Justice or the Office of the Ombudsman. From Justice Secretary, Remulla has been appointed as Ombudsman. So the two gatekeepers of justice are successively occupied by a ranking official who has declared that there is absolutely no hope for domestic justice for the victims. If the charges are not confirmed in this case, one of the gravest concerns of the victims is that Mr. Duterte will return to the Philippines as a conquering hero. He will resume preaching his gospel of impunity. In fact, if Mr. Duterte could threaten to slap the judges of this court, which he did while he was president, this chamber should imagine the kind of terror-filled threats and the violent actions that can easily be used against the victims if the suspect walks free from this court. If the charges are not confirmed, it is a very serious concern of the victims that Mr. Duterte will be portrayed in history by his multitude of followers as the leader who vanquished the ICC and who cleansed his country of 30,000 rapists, murderers, and dangerous criminals, which were the scornful words he sweepingly used against all those who were killed in his murderous spree. Your Honors, Mr. Duterte has been in detention here in The Hague for almost a year now, but there has been no peace and rest for the victims. From the time their loved ones were killed and continuously up to this time, they lived in constant fear for their lives. The arrest and detention of Mr. Duterte has not stopped impunity in the Philippines. The virus of impunity that he spread all over the country has become a cancer that has metastasized, infecting millions of Filipinos. Mr. Duterte has created clones of himself. He converted millions of peace-loving citizens into bloodthirsty disciples who have become converts to the belief that violence and killings are valid solutions to societal problems. The killings masterminded by Mr. Duterte continue to have consequences for the victims even to this day because of his clones. These mini Dutertes harass, threaten, or commit outright violence against the victims and their families. As shown by the number of victims participating in this proceeding so far, many still fear to come out and tell their stories of how their lives became a living hell as a result of Mr. Duterte's crimes, and because they are constantly terrified of being targeted with violence by Duterte fanatics. Many victims have been hesitant to participate in this ICC case because they live in communities that thrive with Duterte clones. They see the halls of power of their country teeming with Duterte disciples. They see and hear senators, congresspersons, mayors, governors, and powerful public figures who are mini Dutertes. The daughter of Mr. Duterte is the vice president, and she has just recently declared that she is running for president in 2028. One Duterte son is a congressman. Another is the Davao City mayor, and his grandchildren occupy positions of power. The plague of impunity has spread not only among Filipinos in the Philippines, but even among expatriate Filipinos in faraway lands like here in The Hague. When we reported to the victims that we, their external legal representatives, feel like fugitives.
Apologies, counsel, it's 11 o'clock.
When we reported to the victims that we, their external legal representatives, feel like fugitives who avoid our own countrymen here in The Hague,
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Council. We will now take a half-hour break as provided for in the schedule, and you shall resume your remarks at 11:30. These are the rules that are set in the schedule, which was set in paragraph 18 of the decision.
Ina talaga niya, no? Hayop talaga. Nandamay na, no? Dinamay na si Pulong Duterte, si BP Inday. Oh, yan. Ayun. Kala ko hindi, nawala. Si Attorney Butuyan, lawyer, international, human rights lawyer yan. O, siya yung presidente ng Center for International Law. Yan, human rights lawyer. Okay na, narinig nyo. Palamigin mo ulo namin, Buster. Hindi. Puta, Trillanes talaga yung nila, no? Yung script, no? Halatang-halata, no? Trillanes script. Anak na, si Butuyan ba tinatayo ang panamboto, Buster? Malamang hindi na. Puta na. Oo, Diyos mio. Eto, babalik tayo, Babalik tayo ng anong oras ba yung isa? Andali, titignan ko, Titignan ko yung oras ng isa, yung isa nating live. Anong oras ba yung isa nating live? Sandali, check ko, Ibababa ko yung link, puntahan nyo na kagad, Mag-like na kagad kayo doon, Sandali. Naka-prepare na yun eh. 3 yan naka-prepare eh. Eh, yung second session natin, alas 7. O baka alas 8 rin ito magsisimula. Dapat alas 7 itong ano natin eh, ang second session. Kaya lang, tignan natin kung ito yung link ko, puntahan nyo na to. Puntahan nyo na to para makapag makapag-like na kayo doon, ha? Tapos i-click nyo yung notification para ma-notify kayo kung live na tayo, ha? Okay. Maraming salamat ha. Thank you so much. Muamua chup. Sa mga hindi pa nakapag-like at saka subscribe, makikisuyo na lang. Love you all. Muamua chup ulit.